I'm Kevin Coleman at @TheBoys_22.
I'm Jeff Bell at For Whom J Bell Tolls.
And I am Christian Williams at C Williams NFL, and this is the Devy Royale's YouTube page.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Devy Royale YouTube page. We got Jeff out of his busy schedule to join us, so we're excited to have him anytime we can see his face. And on this episode in this series that we've been doing, we've been breaking down fantasy quarterbacks from the 2022 class. We recently covered Malik Willis, so please, if you haven't checked that out, check it out. You know, it was a good time talking about him and where we see him in this class. And now we're going to get some guys. I think even after Willis, there are some question marks, and we're going to go to Sam Howell. And I think Sam Howell, North Carolina quarterback, who is considered, QB1 for a few years now, has kind of took a hit a little bit from the Senior Bowl. Is kind of in and out average. We talked about that on the podcast. So what can we expect from Sam Howell is I think where we're going to go with. And I think we're going to pop up a guy for you, and Christian's going to start us.
Yeah. So Sam Howell, this is very opinion based, but I think what we're doing with Sam Howell right now is overanalyzing. Sam Howell burst onto the scene. He was the highest rated quarterback recruit that North Carolina had ever gotten. And he showed it immediately, threw for 38 touchdowns his true freshman year, and was rivaling Trevor Lawrence as the best quarterback in the ACC. That kind of carried over into 2020, although he did take a little bit of a downturn in terms of yardage and touchdown production, but he was overall more efficient. 2020 was the year that he had the weapons, right? He had Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, De'Ami Brown, Daz Newsome. I almost forgot him. But 2020 was kind of the year that everything was supposed to come together, and it did. North Carolina was good. They won a lot of games because they had a lot of good players. 2021 comes around, everything goes poorly. Everything goes badly, except for Josh Downs, his number one target. But essentially what the North Carolina offense was reduced to was Sam Howell being a 1 to 2 read quarterback and then pulling and running because he knew that his receivers would not get open. So what we have here is a 6-foot quarterback that looked like he's a 1-read guy, but overall he has really good arm strength. He's able to stand in the pocket and just deliver footballs while taking hits. And a lot of that gets brought upon him. Jeff, what do you think of Sam Howell?
I think that we see this every year. We see the guy that comes in arguably as the unanimous quarterback one, and we look for reasons why he's not the quarterback one. Meanwhile, with the rest of the class, we will look for reasons why they should be the quarterback one. And I think that anytime that you have that overanalysis, that negative tone towards anybody, the weaknesses are going to be more glaring, whereas you're going to get more excited about the things that other guys can do. I think Howell is the most polished quarterback in this draft. I think he's the best passer in this draft, and I think that he is going to be probably the most pro ready from day one in this draft. And so, I see a lot of talk about him in terms of becoming a fantasy asset with the rushing. The reality of it is much of that rushing is probably not going to translate to the NFL level. He's got functional athleticism to keep plays alive, to work within the pocket. And he's talented. He's able to work through those progressions, find receivers, and I think that you did a great job nailing down exactly what happened this past year. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on Sam Howell?
No, I mean, you hit it out of the head. I think he's fine in terms of kind of where his other prospect. I think that his fantasy ceiling can be capped, though, right? When we're talking about these quarterbacks, like when we're thinking fantasy ceiling, I think it can be capped a little bit just based on he doesn't have that. I swear to God, if I see dual threat, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I already lost it earlier in the year. But, he had over 10,000 yards at North Carolina in 37 games, and he had 92 touchdowns. That's nothing to be like, hey, wow. And only 23 interceptions. So, I think someone's going to get a blue-collar, kind of strong physical guy. He's competitive as hell when you watch him play. But he did in the Senior Bowl. I'm going to say, from the tape that I saw in the practice reps and stuff, him getting his ass beat at North Carolina by that offensive line for the entire season got him a little jumpy. And you notice that even in the Senior Bowl, where he always felt like he had to run for his life a little bit. And hey, that there was a strong defensive line, strong edge rushers, and we saw all that in the Senior Bowl. But he's got to work on that, and I think that is what we kind of worry about with the quarterbacks from my position when I see him there. But I think teams will draft him in the first round just because they want that fifth-year option. And I do think that the Lions would be a good spot. So, like, if you're looking kind of that second pick, and he could maybe follow that. If he did, that's fine. But he's physical, he's competitive. I'm gonna throw on the tape for him. The biggest thing to me is his arm strength, right? Like, I think me and Christian have been talking about that for a long time. This is a grown ass man throw right here. And that's an NFL throw. And so when you're looking at these type of throws that you like to see, that's what you like to see. Like, not many quarterbacks in this class can do what he does right here.
Yeah. And it's natural arm strength too. So there's a difference between, he gets Baker Mayfield comps a lot. It's reasonable. They have very similar play styles. They're both short kings, they kind of look alike. But Baker Mayfield has to put his entire body into a throw to get that much arm strength. Sam Howell flicks his wrist in these, and it's going 50, 60 yards. Like, that one looked a little underthrown, but that doesn't happen too often for Sam Howell. And the other piece that's really good is he puts really good touch on the ball. He understands where to put touch, where to put velocity. I will say, you're right. His jumpiness or his antsiness, whatever you want to call it, he's got happy feet. He wants to either bail or he just taps his feet for whatever reason, even in clean pockets. At the Senior Bowl, he really didn't get a better offensive line with the comparison of ACC edge rushers versus what he saw at the Senior Bowl. So it really wasn't a good environment. But when he has an NFL offensive line and that are able to give him even a little bit of time, I think we're going to see a really efficient player, a really efficient quarterback. Now, tying it back to fantasy before I kick it back over to Jeff, I think he's a perennial QB2, and maybe like Derek Carr range or Kirk Cousins range is kind of like what you're looking at as a ceiling for him. Where he's going in rookie drafts and where he'd probably go even if drafted at the back of the first round, I would be happy with that. That would be a really good output for him. A lot of things do have to improve, though. And, I started this off by saying we picked him apart. We've overly analyzed, but he does need to improve in a variety of aspects.
Yeah, we did see a quarterback. Oh, I was just going to say, we did see a quarterback with happy feet go ahead and win the Super Bowl. So, you can have success at that level playing that way. I do think that Howell is a player that sometimes we see quarterbacks that, they like to get hit a little bit. I think Josh Allen is this type of guy that he likes to get hit a little bit to feel like he's in the game, and then he's able to settle in a little bit. And I think Howell kind of strikes me as that type of player as well. He's not afraid of that contact. And I think that a good shot really gets his blood flowing, gets his head straight, and he kind of puts his head into the game. Whereas I think in the kind of the Senior Bowl structure, he struggled because he didn't have that sort of game feel moving with it. And then again, we kind of pick him apart there. Kevin mentions him bailing out. We talk about Malik Willis, like seeing the lane and taking it and going, whereas we talk about Sam Howell just bailing out. We're doing that same thing kind of again. Now, when I'm looking at where to take him, it kind of would be first, obviously, dependent on draft capital. As long as he's got that first round, we know that we're going to get a couple years out of him. Landing spot may be more dependent a little bit for him than other guys, because I would be more concerned about what his weapons are able to do. He's not a guy that he's going to elevate an offense all by himself. I kind of talked a little bit about, there's almost a Drew Brees element to him, where if the pieces are around him, he's going to be able to deliver the ball. He's going to be able to rack up fantasy points. But if there's not, then he's going to be put in, again, another tough situation, just like North Carolina. Where I would take him, if he gets that draft capital that we want to see, gets a good landing spot, he's going to inch his way up, but he's going to kind of be in that middle tier. I think that you're going to go comfortably a couple wide receivers. You're probably going to take Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks. You're going to take Malik Willis over him. You'll probably take Breece Hall, Isaiah Spiller potentially as well. So he kind of lands in that 106 to 112 area, that back half of the first round.
Christian, is that where you kind of have him somewhere in there?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'd be comfortable taking him. Now, I saw someone saying that he could fall to the third round in the NFL draft. And if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, you can't be taking him. I just don't see an NFL team looking at even just the sheer production and letting him fall that far. Kyle Trask, I believe, was a second-round pick. I mean, what are we doing here, folks? He has to be at least a high second-round pick with that arm talent.
Yeah. No, I have seen those takes, but there are too many quarterback needy teams in the NFL to let him slip that far. I mean, someone will move up in the late first probably if he was kind of falling in that area, just because I think the position is like that. But no, I agree. I think that when you're looking at Howell, like we talked about with Willis on the last episode, these guys got question marks, and it's kind of like I look at QB2 as kind of the ceiling for Howell, and I've always kind of said that. Like I think the Carr comparison is a pretty good one. I think that's kind of like if he has a career like that, I think that's a win for him. And Carr was going at like the 201 in rookie drafts, I believe, Superflex rookie draft. So, and I'm that old, I remember, because I was drafting in there. But you're looking at that, like if you could get Howell at the 201, which we saw happen with Mac Jones last year, we saw Zach Wilson drop a little bit in some rookie drafts. So if that's the case, you get him as a QB2 in a Superflex league. Hey, I'm okay with that. If you're reaching, then I'd be a little bit more nervous on that. So, all right, we appreciate you guys tuning in for this episode on Sam Howell. Please subscribe, hit that like button for us. Also, check out the Devy Royale Patreon. It's fantastic. It's over a 90-something 6-page guide that we're going to be adding rookie content to as well in the coming month. So please check that out. You can find it in the description below. But until then, I'm Kevin Coleman at @TheBoys_22.
I'm Jeff Bell at For Whom J Bell Tolls.
And I'm Christian Williams at C Williams NFL, and this is the Devy Royale.